Close your eyes and imagine the backdrop for the fairy tales you loved as a child. Now open them. If you're standing on the shores of Lake Bled, Slovenia, seeing the church-topped island and the castle-topped cliff, then you're already there. Is this the most beautiful place on Earth? I certainly think so, and I'm not alone. Millions of visitors have marveled at the fairy tale perfection of Bled, Slovenia. This podcast brings you the wonders of Bled, its people, places, foods, history, and experiences. Everything you need for a perfect holiday. I'm your host, Noah Charney, and this is the Bled Podcast. Is this the most beautiful place on Earth? The official podcast of the Bled Tourist Board. In each episode, we explore Bled and its surroundings. You'll find it all here in this image of paradise. Let's begin. Today, I'm in conversation with Janez Fajfar, the almost legendary former mayor of Bled. Legendary because he's so popular. Come on, you know it's true. And he was mayor for 16 years, but he was also for 22 years hotel manager of Vila Bled. And so few people know Bled as well as he does. And I'm interested in learning not only the story of Bled, but also his personal favorite spots. So we're going to get to know Bled behind the scenes with Janez. Thank you so much for taking some time to hang out today.
It's a great pleasure.
So let's begin if we go back in time. You're a young man, I know, but when you were a child, what was it like in Bled and how was it different from today?
It was very nice, basically. But most of childhoods are nice, or especially when you're a youth. I was born in a hospital close by in 55. Pregnant women already went to hospital here. Mm-hmm. So, and then we came here to Bled. I remember my mother had a pension. Mm-hmm. And the first room I gave away when she was in shop was by 5 years, and I gave our living room away. Then she came home and said, "Where shall we sleep?" You know. No, we even got loans if you wanted to finish your house. The tourist board of Bled gave you money so you could finish it, but then you have to return it. And it was very positively pro-tourist oriented time.
So you were really born into gostinstvo, into tourist family.
And the best was because tourists came with their children, mm-hmm. and we played together. And when I was about 15 or 13 or something, a guest, the whole road, everyone did the same, but my mother cooked for everyone. So they were all also in our house. And we knew all the children from Britain, from Germany, from Israel, from I don't know, wherever, Italy. And we were all friends and we all played together. And we went swimming together. And one of the people who went home to Holland took you along. And after 2 weeks, your neighbor's guest brought you back.
That's
and
great. So
we learned, the rich people of Ljubljana and all these important people, they had to send their children to English courses to England. And then they never learned anything because they just talked Slovene on among themselves. And we were forced to learn the habits and languages, and this was quite good.
So when you were born, it was already a tourist destination,
Yes.
and it had been since the 19th century. Can you tell me a little bit about how tourism first came to Bled, for instance, with Arnold Rikli?
Yeah, well, now we talk a lot about Rikli, but it was a lot of local people. Mm-hmm. Bled is a pilgrimage. Mm-hmm. A pilgrimage is nothing but tourism.
Sure.
I mean, under the line, of course, it's some more divine stuff and everything. A pilgrim also has to eat and drink and sleep somewhere, and in Bled, in addition, you have to ship him over. And they pay, and that's what we live from all the history. And when the roads improved and when travelers came, one of the first was the famous Humphrey Davy, who invented the Davy lamp. Mm-hmm. British could afford to travel. Mm-hmm. They were rich, and he came here and some others and wrote beautiful reports and so on. So Bled was already quite known. One of the chaplains in Bled Church was Janez Fajfar, one of co-inventors of photography. Mm-hmm. So many famous people came to see him, but he never advanced to priest because they thought there was a little bit of magic involved.
A little suspicious of cameras.
Yeah. And then Rikli came, 1855 around. He was from Switzerland. They had production of red color for cotton, mm-hmm. from some rather poisonous root. Mm-hmm. And the procedure was 2 weeks, and they never knew in advance if it would work out. So his father was very nervous, quite unpleasant, very strict Protestant. So, and I think 2 boys left to Austria and started it. It was Austria here too then.
Sure.
Just across the mountain at Millstätter See, they started another plant. And he got sick, as many workers, because of this poisonous stuff. And the local people there said, go to Bled, you'll heal yourself for sure. So Bled was already known. The thermal water into Bled was open for centuries. And then he got good again and said, why should not I sell this to the others? Because it was the time of great change in Austrian Empire after 1848, March Revolution, step by step. All the people became free. They could start any business, and some people became, who had no chance before, became very rich very quickly.
Sure.
Ate and drank too much. They were too roundish. And if you're rich, as you know, you must look perfect, and you're ready to undergo any treatment, as crazy as it might be, this bus, that bus. And so the less they give in such spas, the more they charge. And here it was really the case. He said that, make it short, the air was good, the sunshine, and the water can cure everything. This was all available for free. So the difference in buying and selling was quite nice, and that's the business.
So people would come here and they would undergo what is now called a Rickley treatment.
Yeah, it was a bit different. Yeah, but
can you describe what it would have looked like then?
Yeah, it was not so easy for the patients. First of all, they lived in small cottages. They only had a curtain to the lake. Basically, they were also freezing in the night. Very lightly dressed. And then he split in the morning, men and women, in 2 groups, of course. And then they went on Straža Mountain, where they sunbathed and exercised, nearly naked or sometimes really naked. This was a revolution.
Sure.
Naturalism starts here. And it was, for most of them, it was not interesting for too long. And they were getting more and more hungry and thirsty. No wine, no schnapps, no sausage, no schnitzel. And they started to escape to local pubs. But he went around at every lunchtime, and if he found someone, he just left the letter, you leave my institution and you get no money back, because they had to sign. And when they were out, they didn't want to leave Bled, but there was nothing luxurious available. It was a simple place. There was a few hotels, like the old Park Hotel. It was all very basic for pilgrims and some other travelers. So, and they were talking to local pub owners, why don't you start something, why don't you? And slowly they realized that these people who go there like clandestine, for a schnapps or a glass of wine, a beer, they have much more money than the pilgrims. And they started to renovate, and around at the turn of the centuries, Bled had 1,000 beds already. 1,000 beds. So it was 2, one side was the Rickley's institution, world famous, but people of Bled didn't like it that much, because they wanted something more noble, more fine. There's a lot of, they sue each other a lot with municipality and so on. It was not that easy, but anyhow, we have to be very thankful to Rickley, because he made Bled world famous. Introducing something so strange at the time was a revolution. He wrote a lot of interesting works, and for many things he had right. He also helped promote it, if I understood correctly, because he came from a wealthy family and he invested a lot in advertising in newspapers abroad, which was relatively new concept at the time. Yeah, in all his the tourist papers were starting in the whole empire, also in Britain. The Savoy magazine, was a fantastic article, an English lord writes, how, a little bit ironic, but he still liked to come back. Yeah, it was a long journey. And, well, yes, and he was also spied on. And on the basis of this learning from here, they opened in Ascona in Switzerland, just about similar to Hill Lake mountain. On the top of the mountain, they made a place called Monte Verita. Famous world people came there from Switzerland, Paul Klee, Carl Jung, Thomas Mann, Heinrich Hesse, Isidora Duncan. All these people flocked there And today they renovated a little bit. It was Monte Verita, where everyone could walk naked around.
Okay.
Yeah. But it was based on the learning from here.
So what about the shift towards luxury tourism? What was the first fancier hotel?
Well, old Toplice was called Luisenbad, old Park Hotel was called Malna, and when the railways were built, the first one came in Ljubljana in mid-1850s, so it was one day of carriage to Bled. Then 1870, the second one came very close to here, from Villach over Tarvisio to present, and 1906, this one here was the most beautiful and the most, how should I say, technically advanced and the most expensive to build was this one. It was an adventure by itself, taking this rail down from Vienna to Trieste. So people flocked in. They sent servants and luggage one day before. So when they came, everything was in the wardrobes already, and they stayed for a long time. And then some of them said, the rich Viennese, we want to have a place here. So about 100 villas were built. They were over summer. Children and ladies, they stayed the whole summer. Father and family chief sort of came for 2-3 weeks because he had to work. And yeah, it was extremely quickly developing. A very interesting point of this time was, you know, the Jewish question was getting stronger and stronger. And in Vienna, they were growing quickly, coming all from Eastern Europe. It was what was Russian, what was Austrian too, present Ukraine, and from Poland and from Silesia, and one of them was Adolf Mur. Ironically, he was called Adolf, and they were buying off Bled and building villas. People had no real clue how valuable the land on the lake is, because they always considered it of minor quality, that was just for the horses to graze. It's sour, you know, it's dampened. They sold it quite cheaply away, and nearly every villa had a boathouse. Every villa had an ice house. Ice. So Bled's business in winter was cutting, sewing ice, packing it in straw, and from this railway they sent it to Trieste and then to Alexandria, to Egypt.
That far away?
Yeah.
Ice from Bled?
Ice from Bled. That was the winter business of our Pletna fleet.
That's fascinating.
Yeah, it was a really good job. So Austrian time, we have this high-level nobility and everything like that. Then First World War came. We were already given to Italy, but an Austrian Serb inventor, Mihailo Pupin, we all know Tesla. The two most important Austrians in the United States were two Austrian Serbs, Tesla and Pupin. Tesla, you know,
we know the
Pupin,
story,
he made amplifiers. So he made it possible to call from London to New York, for example, or from New York to San Francisco. That was his work. And he was a good friend of Wilson. And Wilson did the borders. And it's a long story. And Pupin liked Slovenians a lot. He had teachers and so on. And he was talked to from our side, and he said to Wilson, please try to arrange this. So we were cut off. Bled, Bohinj, Kranjska Gora, we wouldn't be in Yugoslavia. This would be Italy. And then the new state came. First we were independent for 5 weeks, the southern Slav part of Austria.
Just 5 weeks?
5 weeks. And then it fused into the new kingdom of Serbs, Croats and Slovenes, later called Yugoslavia. And the king has chosen this for his summer residence. Especially the queen liked it, because everyone spoke a little bit of German. She was of Bavarian origin, a Romanian princess. And she was here last moments of her pregnancy with the later crown prince and King Peter, but they didn't allow her to get him here. So they bought the villa of Austrian Princess Windischgrätz. That's a funny name. Windisch is the old name for Slovenians, German name. And Grätz comes from Graz. Even Graz, Styria, basically means small castle. So this famous family who did not they are not so popular in Hungary and with the Czechs. due to the March Revolution
Sure.
intervention, but they came down here. And they were very tall. And 1885, old Prince Ernst Windischgrätz built a beautiful castle here on this spot. And he had a son who was nearly 2 meters, Otto. And Kaiser, Emperor Franz Joseph lived together. He was already a widower. Sissi was killed, stabbed in Geneva. And his son, father of this little Elizabeth, she had the same name as her grandmother, but they called her Ershi, more pro-Hungarian, Hungarian, because Rudolf was quite pro-Hungarian. So her mother married another one, father was dead, so they lived together. In summer in Schönbrunn, in winter in Hofburg, and as any granddaughter, she could do anything she wanted with her grandfather.
Sure.
And no one wanted her because she was so tall. No one wanted to walk along with a woman one head taller. It was only the case of Italian king who had the Montenegrin queen who was one head taller of him. Yeah, but so, and then she spotted this prince at the horse races or something, Vienna, and she was pressing on her grandfather for so long, so he ordered him to marry her. And they married. That was in winter 1902. Came to Bled the same day and spent here 2 weeks, and from here they went to Trieste and the Holy Land.
Okay.
And so this was, world press was full. It was like something going on now with Harry or whatever.
Sure.
No, that was, she could be empress. In Austria it was possible. After Maria Theresa it was possible that a woman could be also, no, but it was also in England, Victoria and so on. Yeah, and so when Austrian Empire fell apart, they didn't feel so welcome anymore. And then they sold it to Karađorđević. There was a little chapel down here. They made it a very strange combination, Catholic and Orthodox. So the third son, the queen said, no, I will have this boy here, period.
Okay.
This child, she didn't know that. He was called Andreas, and he was sort of Slovenian. First was Peter the Serb, second was Tomislav the Croatian, and third was Andrej, born here. I only met Tomislav, he came here after 91, and he said, you should know, all winter we were dreaming when the spring comes, summer, so we can be in Bled and we can be normal children.
That's lovely to hear, actually.
Yeah, and they played with local, the king insisted, and queen, they play with local children, they watch them a little bit. They could play together, run together. Yeah, and, it was just a few guards, it was nothing to compare after 47 when Tito had to build the wall around.
Sure,
yeah. So, but this couldn't last forever. That was still 34 when King was shot.
So just in case people aren't familiar with the story, the Karađorđević family was the Yugoslav royal family.
This was...
And the king was assassinated.
Yes. They were Serb royal family. But then when these countries fused, it was under the leadership of Serbia, and they were also one of the winners in the First World War, and we belonged to the losers, to Austria. So the treatment was pretty much according. But Bled, if anyone profited, we profited. Because Bled people and Bochum cannot say they had a really bad time, because where the king went, the business went in summer.
Sure.
And it's a good story when they were, you know, that little tunnel we are passing through.
Sure.
This was built by the mayor of Bled because he was afraid the king or queen, they would like to drive fast. They would run into the lake and then the business would be gone. But he was shot anyhow. So
he had different problems.
The queen was an extremely nice person, and they, when she sort of drew over a hen, she asked whose hen it was, and she went there and she would pay for a cow. So probably some hens finished their life a bit earlier.
Yeah, people kept throwing hens in front of her car.
Not so obviously, but I presume, as far as I know our people, it would be extremely possible.
So now if we come back to where we're standing now, so this is the bridge next to the Belvedere Cafe. That's part of the Vila Bled complex.
Yes.
But you said some interesting things just about where we're standing, the hill behind us, the hill across, and also a little bit about a plan to build a bridge to the island. Can you just tell us those stories?
Yeah. The most famous architect of all Slav world, not only of us, was Plečnik. And when Alexander was visiting Masaryk in Prague, he said, "It's so beautiful, who did it?" And Masaryk said, "How don't you know it? It's one of yours, it's Plečnik from Ljubljana." So they called him here and he made a plan and they started. And only this was called a reception room with the beautiful view, was finished and then he was shot. And then Belgrade...
Not Plečnik was shot, the king.
No, the king was shot, no, Plečnik.
Plečnik was still cooking for a while.
Yeah. And so here we are 30 meters high. And then they started another building and then it was continued in the war because the old villa was removed, the old castle, Austrian. And then in 47 they finished it for Tito. German prisoners of war finished it.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and here they then closed this part of the shoreline. It's about 10%, 600 meters. The chapel was removed, of course. And then it was where basically Tito was hiding, because it was over the border in Austria and Italy, half an hour from here, it was British troops. And he could always go to them, because he did a lot of good things for Western allies. And this was safer than Belgrade. They did not even like him that much there, you know. So this was a better place. But if we go back to the royal times, even longer, if you go back 200 years, you see that's a bit lighter, the lake there, because it's shallower. When the son of Maria Theresa, who was far the best ruler and the most advanced person we ever had in all Austrian lands, was a tremendous woman. But her son, he wanted even more. But he had no money, Mama spent everything. So the only company with money was the Catholic Church. He was ruder to them than any communist revolution. Most of monasteries, convents were dismissed, they were kicked out, confiscated the property, and only parish churches should stay. And this is not a parish church, Virgin Mary. It's a Virgin Mary, but also a source of very good income.
Yeah, sure.
And they didn't know how to save it. But this church really had school before 1430, Sunday school. So that gave Bled people a great chance. We have a lot, on the castle was a court, and many of these protocols are saved. They were doing business 300 years ago as far as Amsterdam, Vienna, on stock exchange, peasants from here.
Wow.
Yeah, well, education was a lot. And the man of Bled was the one who convinced the empress, when she introduced compulsive schooling, that they should start in the local language, not in German. Otherwise children will hate it because they won't understand.
So this is actually a good point, because not everyone's familiar. Empress Maria Theresa was a really great reformer.
Yeah.
And a lot of the things that we have as normal today are thanks to her, including the idea of compulsory schooling and going to school Monday through Friday and taking these different subjects. And she established this throughout the Austro-Hungarian Empire at the time.
Yeah. She saw how backwards the empire was, and all the time in war. Therefore, she married her children, so these other rulers wouldn't war. Therefore, Marie Antoinette was sent with 14 years to this notorious Louis XVI. She sacrificed this girl. Yeah, it was hard
in order to have alliances, so they wouldn't have a reason to fight.
Yeah, so because you can develop only in peace. In wars, no development. Yeah, only for some probably. Yeah.
So if we come back to this location, you said that shallow over there, what was the plan?
They wanted, because we have parish church under the castle, and for village Mlino, they said they wanted their own parish. And they wanted to prove, you couldn't say we have a parish on an island, you can't go there over. You know, they had boats, of course, but they said we better do a bridge, and then we make this church a parish church, and so it can stay. To save the church. This was the problem. And finally they said, because these chaplains had to have school, they were of some kind of public benefit. Okay. So it could stay.
It was a rationalization to not have it absorbed into her son's financial issues.
Second danger for this church was during the Second World War, where this crazy Heinrich Himmler, he was in love with Bled, completely mad, and he thought that this should be the center of the new Germanic religion. And there would be a vote Wotan temple here, Odin's temple. Wednesday is Wotan.
Yeah.
It should be here in Bled. Thanks God he didn't leave it long. He knew that the territory is not so friendly, so he always stayed in a wagon on the railway station.
Really?
He was there. He was safer.
Okay.
But I read somewhere that even Hitler said that's scientific kitsch. What was his? Even Hitler didn't approve, but he would do it. Yeah.
So if we come back now to Tito in Vila Bled, when it was first built, it was designed as Tito's residence in Bled?
Yes.
And it was one of three?
They redid it into Tito's residence, like a retreat here. And he had Brioni, of course, but Brioni he didn't get immediately because that was Italian before and it was the Brits.
Okay.
And well, Belgrade he had to be anyhow.
Sure.
He liked it or not. It's a capital. And here in Bled, he normally welcomed people. He wanted to impress how good communism can function. Because it really, but it functioned because the people like to work. And you know, here being on Austrian and Italian border, on the other side, they could do anything they wanted in economy and also. And here we were the same people, same blood, same sunshine, same earth, basically.
Yeah.
It's all Slovenians there too, by origin at least.
Yeah.
So they could do it and we couldn't. So people tried to sort of come closer to the level of living of them. So this was really much better looking than most of the country.
Sure.
And when he had like Khrushchev and Ceausescu and Zhivko, all these Kadar, all these Eastern leaders, and then from Third World you remember Nasser, you remember Nehru, his daughter Indira Gandhi, Nkrumah from Ghana. All these leaders flocked to Bled. And we liked it a lot at school.
Yeah, sure. I bet it was interesting.
Because once Tito came with the Burmese president, and they have a sort of a special attire, like a white turban with one knot on the side. And some old Bled crooks had enough money, enough gold still hidden so they could sip normally. And there is a bar where all this sweet would pass. That was extremely interesting. When Tito came, you know, with the motorbikes and then all these limousines with flags and then ambulance cars, it was about 50, 60 cars.
Wow.
One of the things you really have to show is what's left in Vrhnika, in Bistra. All this was passing through. And then they came out of the bar, dressed like these Burmese people, and they talked and all. And it was obvious that they make fun.
Yeah.
Tito was upset. They locked him in. And next time another of these exotic leaders came, they were put to prison a day before.
Just in case.
Just in case. Nothing,
do you
nothing
remember,
happened, nothing.
Do you remember as a child actually seeing the Tito's motorcade come in?
I remember to see, and she even waved Faradiba of all this Senghor, I don't know. Kim Il-sung was here, the grandfather of the present president. He was here for quite a long time. He even took the bed along because he said he was sleeping so well. I need to say, take the bed.
So Tito would have these guests here when he wanted to show off how successful
But he stayed in Brdo.
Okay.
He was here operated in '53 on gallbladder, but then he liked to, because more and more people were coming from Austria, daily excursions. I said, look, this communist here lives, what a communism is this, and so on. And he didn't like it.
So he stayed at Bordeaux Castle?
Bordeaux, and here he had these exotic guests normally, so they could enjoy Bled.
Okay.
And then he gave it away as a hotel already in '68. But they screwed up in 5 years. And he was very upset.
In what way did they screw it up?
They didn't take care.
Okay.
Underneath, in the cellar, was sort of national restaurant, Balkan type, with dancers, you know, you spit on money, put in your ear.
But that's fun usually.
It was fun, yeah, but really did not fit the best to this location. Yeah. So then they closed it down again, and he lived for 7 more years. Jovanka took renovation, successful or less successful. Many things, floor carpet all over, bathroom too. Our chambermaids had to take the hairdryer to dry before. double, this, how should I say, like smoked mirrors, you know. You couldn't shave, women couldn't put on there, and so on. But he died in 1980, and they didn't know what to do. All these visits stopped.
Yeah, sure.
When Tito was not here, not even the president from the smallest island somewhere was not anymore interested to come here. They all wanted to meet him. He was a tremendous personality. And he was really nice to the staff. She was not. He was very fair. No, nothing to say.
Yeah.
So 84, the pressure was growing, you know, and then everyone said, look, all this is lockdown, nothing, and Bled needs new capacities, and we need something more chic and noble. And then in 84, they decided to open it. It was a little bit of fear that Yugoslav army wanted to take it for their summer retreat.
Okay.
That's something no one wanted.
Right.
Yeah. So even the top Slovenian politician of the time had the courage to say no.
Okay, good.
Yeah. Yes, we don't talk so good about them all the time.
Yeah, sure.
But sometimes they, when the situation was serious, they reacted as they should.
Okay.
I can say, never being a member of anything. Yeah. And then it was opened, and I was here employed as a reception manager. They said, I talked with the old Grand Hotel manager, said, what do you want to be, Janez? I say, I want to be public relations. He said, this doesn't exist. You'll be reception manager. Manager is the same.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, and then we became members of Relais Chateau, first hotel in any communist country in 2 years. They were so shocked in Paris when I.
Now, how did you become a member? Relais Chateau is a union of high-end hotels.
It was very difficult to become a member, but this was something so special. It was the first communist dictator's residence to become, because these are mostly historic places.
Sure.
With very personal touch and so on. And a lot of people around the world, they don't travel but Relais Chateau.
Okay.
They don't go anywhere else. It's more a union of independent hotels. It's not Hilton or Sheraton.
Sure.
And a guy came with this white book, guest, and said, why are you not in here? I said, no, I have no clue. Then I wrote, I didn't know. I wrote, and they told me later, quite shocked by the letter, and they sent spies. They sent people, and the reports were good.
And you didn't know that they were sending spies?
No, I didn't know. Now then I remember a little bit why this and that. And then they, at the end of the season, they said they would welcome us. And here our top management said, doesn't matter, this means nothing. But okay, we can be members, doesn't matter. So I couldn't even go to this. But then we came into the guidebook.
Yeah.
In 1 year, 40%.
Wow.
Most of these guests who came the first year, they stayed up to 6 weeks.
Oh, wow.
From New York, from anywhere around the world. Fantastic clientele. They were looking for something like that.
Yeah.
30 rooms, 5 hectares, that means 13 acres, beautiful Lido.
Yeah.
It was a bit old-fashioned, but still pleasant and airy enough.
So you have some crazy stories that you're allowed to share with us about strange requests from hotel guests?
Yeah, you must. Yeah, we can't.
We'll turn off the cameras in a little bit.
No, it was a lot of course, I said sometimes every day you could write a novel. And you thought you have seen and heard everything and something new appeared. It was never boring. If the people didn't do it, then the staff would find out some. But it was a fantastic place to work for 22 years. At the end, I didn't come along anymore with the top management. They had very little clue about tourism, and I decided to go.
Who were some of the celebrities who people might be familiar with who came and stayed while you were manager here?
Well, we had a lot of people just for lunch or dinner. Most of European royalties, of course. Very pleasant visit was Juan Carlos of Spain and Sofia. It's a nice story. When we went to the island, she gave him, the digital came out. And she said, may I ask you some photo, make a picture.
Yeah.
And he was up and down the king. And she told him, don't tell, it's not even this you can do. I said, that's good. Doesn't matter if you're a king or not, it's the same. And it was a funny incident also when we had William Perry, our defense minister. When there was war in Bosnia, they stayed here. This is built good for security.
Yeah.
So they flew over the day down, and in the evening they came back. And I mostly had the ladies program. That was my pleasure. And on the list was also the later famous Monica Lewinsky. We didn't know who she was, but she was on the bottom of the VIP list. So we put her to the worst room, because the rooms in Vila Bled are not all the same. It's a palace, it's not built as a hotel.
Sure.
It's very hard, you know, how to decide who will get the better. You have a conference, who worse. It's always so unpleasant, you know. And she was in this 105, and well, we talked a little bit. She was sort of merry-go-round, nothing, just a nice person. And then when she left, we realized whom did we have. And then to get rid of the worst room, when we had a conference, they said, who wants to have the room of Monica Lewinsky? They were fighting. Then so one got it, and then he came down and said, are you sure this was for him? Yeah, you can check in our book. Okay.
That's very clever.
Yeah, so otherwise they would complain.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's it.
So then how did you shift gears and decide to become mayor?
I didn't want to become a mayor.
No?
They pushed me. Really, I really didn't want. I said, after I have enough of these smart people here above me, we were very good friends with the staff. We had fantastic guests, and I still did the season 2006. I say, I will not disappoint our people, guests. But then I go, stay home for half a year. My mother was a tremendous chef, still in good shape. So I learned something, and I had money enough, say it's enough. And then elections came, and they were after me all the time.
When you say they were after, you mean locals in
some
Bled?
locals, yeah.
Okay.
I said, damn it, leave me alone, politics, bro, real. And then there was already people who applied. They say, then tell us, whom of these do you want to be your mayor? I look at them and say, no one, and then you'll be. This was the whole story. So it was in 2 rounds because we were 9. First term was tough, but I had a fantastic secretary. It's so important that you have someone you can really trust.
Yeah.
And since I belong to a class that is not allowed to do anything wrong, I didn't do anything wrong, even if I had chances, a lot of chances basically. And we tried to run it a little bit more conservative, but so that most of people could be happy. But 16 years, it's enough.
So when you first ran, and you didn't really want to become mayor, did you have to campaign, or was no one else?
Yeah. Then at the end I had to campaign, and then we was, how you call it, second time only 2 of us were there, and she lost. But with the time you learn. The problem is getting the right municipal manager. Okay. Because in Bled, all the day you are he, ha, ha, this one comes. You can't be there all the time.
Yeah, sure.
24/7. Yeah. Salary is lousy. Yeah. Any waiter in Bled has a better salary. Yeah. So and whatever you do, it's wrong for someone. Yeah, sure. Yeah. It's not an easy job.
I imagine not.
Some people take it very easy, but they will learn with the time.
So
for sure. Yeah.
Did you start to like it once you were in office more?
No, I quite liked it, but my heart is here.
Okay.
Was here still, yeah. The worst thing was when I came back after a month, and I said we want to clean up and to take this. Thanks God they took the letters. I had 2 letters from Laura Bush. Fantastic personality, and so on. Something I took. All the rest was thrown away in 1 month.
Wow.
I said, this is history. It's stupid. You did it. Yeah, we wanted to clean. I was not very known for keeping big order. That's true. Okay. And they wanted to polish, or they had an order for that. It's a pity because a lot of interesting documentation is lost. Like permit, you see, you hear the bell of wishes all the time. Yeah. First church marriage was allowed here only 1 year before 91.
Oh, really? I didn't realize that.
It was a tough struggle with state officials, and finally said you can have it for 3/4 of an hour. Okay. And the marriage was, he was Norwegian, chief of World Designer Association, and his wife, beautiful wife, was Catholic, so he was Protestant. Wife was Catholic, a Mexican. I danced with her sister. It was fantastic, all-night party, unbelievable. And they could marry. And then no one really liked it. The authorities, it was still the ancien regime. They didn't like it because they had to allow it. And our church was also not so happy because this marriage was Protestant and not Catholic.
Yeah.
So I didn't.
You didn't make friends that day.
Yeah, but afterwards, everyone said, if they could marry, we can marry too.
Yeah.
So 1 year before the change, 91 people could marry. And this is something I'm quite proud of. And I was very much helped also by my top manager at the time from Tuplices One and so on. I can't just, all the credit doesn't go to me.
Sure.
But
What are some other things during your 16 years that you're quite pleased with how they came out?
I'm pleased that we made one bypass road and that we could start the second one. Fighting with the government is unbelievable, and they consider that we are rich enough. I heard from one minister once, you are from Bled, you're rich enough. What are you doing here? Really, I mean, I don't come along too well with governments normally.
Sure.
And I know in 2019, they took 77 million euros in VAT from Bled. That's for 2 bypass roads. And still fight for paper. And sometimes some locals also make troubles. But we need this bypass road. No, we made this, I don't know, we restored the kindergarten. But the northern bypass road is a great relief. And finally we opened our new cultural center. Most of it was paid by us because we are the developed part of Slovenia. This is another complete injustice. All the east has everything new. And they claim to be underdeveloped. And we are in the same basket with Ljubljana, where everything happens, and Primorska and Gorenjska. If you have an investment of 1 million and you can get European funds, it means it costs you 1.22 million because of the tax you have to pay.
Sure.
And after 2 years, when everything is okay, here you can expect 400,000 euros, and in Maribor or Novo Mesto, where especially Novo Mesto, they don't know where to stick the money, you get 850 back. That's I mean, we say we went out of Yugoslavia because we had the feeling we are exploited. It's the same feeling now here.
That's interesting.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's my opinion. And with the previous government, we were pretty far, but now we see this catastrophe happen, and everything is a bit different here.
So to conclude, I'm curious about what are some of your favorite spots to go in Bled, to eat, to drink, to admire the scenery. If you were going to have a foreign friend who'd never been to Bled before for a couple of days, where might you take them and what might you feed them?
Well, you must take them where they want to see. These are the 3 spots. It's the castle, the island, and the church. Parish church I like a lot, really. This is not enough.
St. Martin's Church.
St. Martin's Church and Vila Bled. And that's 2 days already. Just everything we even don't want to show because we want to have some places where we can breathe normally.
Of course, yeah.
The very good place is here, Stojnica. It's quite a few people go. That means the mountain in the shadow. But from there you have this fantastic view, all in one line. Island, castle, villa you see, and then Karavanke store.
And that's the site of one of the earliest ancient settlements, right?
All these hills were ancient settlements, but there they found, we have a lot of things that were here 3,000 years ago. They found 2 beautiful pieces of gold from a ritual dress, I suppose. And that's the oldest gold of Slovenia.
Wow.
And the pattern is the same as it is at the same time in Denmark and in France. So it was one fashion in Europe, it was one Gucci all over.
Ancient Gucci.
And they found the tools of the goldsmith, a lot of bronze, always where the river goes out of the lake. Archaeologists know this is a sacred place, and then usually there had to be some rituals because the swords we found were never used. Beautiful, that were only for some show.
Okay.
But the axes too, you know. And I said to a friend, you see, this was a ritual site here, an idiot. He said, this was when they were cutting ice, and in so many centuries, many axes fell in. This is the axis.
Maybe.
It's a combination
Less romantic.
of both. That's less romantic, yeah. Yeah, Bled has, recently we found and got out of the lake a 1-trunk boat from the time, we believe, you know, mid of 18th century is the time when all European nations go to their roots, and the big one, the small ones, and a lot of it is a little bit of fairy tale, but everyone, and then they all want their national estates. in the empire about 1750, it didn't matter. You know, it was emperor, there were the nobles, and the people spoke this language or that language and so on. It was not national states, but then this should become, and everyone should have roots, and everyone is the best. And any little nation in Europe you listen to, they are the greatest. And the problem is that it's only them to understand this and nobody else. This is a big problem, especially in the Balkans. We are too few to afford this mentality, but our close neighbors manage it already and can't get rid of it. But as churches say, they produce more history than they can devour. You know?
Yeah, that's true.
That's the problem having such neighborhoods sometimes.
Any other places that you would take guests or show?
Yes, I said Parish Church for sure. Well, there are a few. It's so sad that the place where Rickley had his institution, it's in bad state because the owners, they demand too much money to sell it. And it's a shame of Bled, really, but it's a fantastic place. Then you have in the bushes, you have the monument to Adolf Moor, who was the owner of most of the lake and castle. He bought it from the bishops and from the industrial, not from the bishops, from the one who bought it from the bishop. And small monument remained there. Another nice place I like is the rowing center, because it's beautiful architecture from the 50s.
Yeah.
This was not, Yugoslavia was not like, you know, they would have these communist blocks also, but there was a lot of very advanced architecture. They wanted to follow the others. We had this Judges Tower there, it's a new one. We also got an international award. But the old one was even nicer for me, but it was too small. It was very hard to destroy it. Yeah, and quite a few of these buildings were removed, alas.
Yeah.
So Vila Bled is still there. It's a typical example. It could also be built by Mussolini. It's the same time, has the same taste. They can hate each other, but they would still buy an Armani or a Bosque suit, you know, or drive the same car, even if they're top enemies, because fashion is fashion.
Yeah.
Knows no borders. This I would like to. This is the Moors monument, and here Rickley's on the Straža, very good view. And in rowing center, that's over there, there is a little commemorative board of stone to Mr. Keller, who was the world president of the rowing association, federation. He did a lot to for Bled, because the lake, as you see, the island is not in the middle, so we can just make the 2,000 kilometers.
Right.
And you need a few meters more so they don't go ashore, so they stop in water. So where the bridge, you have the bridge where the water goes out, you see there is a dam. They lifted the lake. They shouldn't. Today it would be out of question. So they made this barrier so the lake was wider. And when you walk around the lake, you see pillars in the water where there were boathouses before. You can still see them, but now it's half a meter more. And this half a meter made about 100 meters long.
And that's in order to make the race route for rowing?
Yeah, for big enough, And we had 4 world championships already, 66, 79, 89, and 211. For these 211, I was quite responsible. We got European funds. We restored 3.5 million, all these sport objects. And even there I insisted that nothing is changed, because there was like fresco in municipal building. There is graffiti, you know. They're in 2-3 layers, peeled off, and rowers. It's a very, the man who did it was, he was not, it was sort of, he did the Academy for Applied Arts in Vienna. And they learned all these most complicated techniques like frescoes, graffiti, all these relief. You know? Most of present artists have no clue about. But as long as a gallery buys one of your works, you are famous. And you can do whatever you want. That's my opinion. And now what we get now, in a year and a half, it will be a museum of contemporary art. It's a private investment, about 25 million, and we are very thankful. And the architect is the world famous David Chipperfield. So whatever he does, it's a new site.
It's very exciting.
So, and we are hoping for some very good guests to come.
Okay, last question for you.
Yeah,
Everybody comes here and they're going to eat the cream cake.
Yeah.
What else should they eat?
Well, on the island, the priest has putitsa, all different types, and I think that's something. Kremšnita is just for Bled, because this pastry baker ran out of enough eggs to make enough cream. In the 50s, you couldn't buy as much as you wanted, so probably this, you were told by Nico already. We had for a long time, we had a very good cuisine, and then it changed. At the moment, there are quite a few good restaurants, but they also change menu. It's nothing like, say, I come here and eat this. As long as I was manager here, we had a few things, and people told me, I'm driving from Berry, I already think in the evening. And then we had a new chef, and then everything had to be new. It's too much fuss.
Yeah.
Far too much fuss about these chefs and these inventions.
Sure.
We should concentrate more on something really to eat. Because some people really want to eat something. They don't come to fuss just around. And this fussing went too far in Bled, in the whole of Slovenia.
So what was an example of the dish that people couldn't wait to eat when they got to Vila Bled that you think is still worth having tourists eat now?
It's, you would die laughing, but at breakfast we also had tripes.
Oh, tripe for breakfast. That's
I can't
unusual.
see them, I can't take them. But some of the guests were crazy. I say, we can't get them anymore. What was simple places before, now it's all tourist. It's hard to offer.
So if you want tripe for breakfast, you might have to look pretty hard.
But I wouldn't, because I tried once, it doesn't work. You love them or you hate them, it's nothing in between. I like to take them also to Radovljica, some really good old places, Letzter, Kunstel, Augustin.
Yeah, those are good.
And around in the villages. In Bled, where I take the people now, of course it's all these nice and fancy places and everyone is very friendly to me and helpful, no problem. But the last place where the food is similar to food we were used to, I'm old-fashioned, is down the castle. Yeah, this Kreiskapreža.
Okay.
Yeah. You know, you don't need to have all these 30 different colors.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. But this is what's in fashion now.
Yeah.
But I must say they try hard. You go evening hotels, is fantastic in Grand Hotel. Very well. Park or Rikli Balance, Triglav over there has superfood now. It's Bled Rose. And then we have next to Meyer, next to Golf Hotel, it's perfect too. And this to here in Mlino, we have two, Starkel and Sova. For a time they had wheel chicks. Fantastic.
A veal cheek, yeah.
Yeah, now I came there. No, we don't have, we have new, okay. But people came for that.
They want the tripe for breakfast and the veal cheeks for lunch. You got to give them what they want.
Yeah. I would do that, yeah.
Well, why don't we finish up this interview and go eat something, because now I'm hungry.
Okay, well, let's go.
Thank you so much for spending some time with us. It was really a pleasure.
Thanks for joining us for this episode of the Bled Podcast. Is this the most beautiful place on earth? The official podcast of the Bled Tourist Board. In each episode, we explore Bled and its surroundings. You'll find it all here in this image of paradise.